I'm Sean, I'm 42, and I want to start with something that hit me harder than I expected when I first saw the numbers. The average American my age, someone who's been working for roughly 2 decades, paying into the system, doing what they're supposed to do, has less than $90,000 saved for retirement. Not the broke 22-year-old just starting out. The average 40-something who's been in the workforce for 20 years. That number stopped me cold, because I remember being in my early 30s thinking retirement was this distant thing I'd figure out later. I almost became that statistic. Almost. So let's talk about what's actually happening out there. Not the sanitized version financial institutions put in their ads, but the real numbers. The Federal Reserve surveys American household wealth every few years, and what they found should be front-page news. The typical household in their final working decade has about $130,000 set aside. By the time they actually retire, that number drops closer to $90,000 because they start drawing it down immediately. And here's the part that really gets under my skin. The average looks like $400,000 because a small group of people have massive balances dragging the number up. Take those people out, and most Americans are sitting near zero. The bottom half of households approaching retirement have essentially nothing saved. Not a little, nothing at all. Let me put $90,000 into real terms, because I think it's easy to hear that number and not fully register what it means day to day. Pull 4% annually, which is the standard rule most financial planners use, and you're generating about $300 a month from that balance. Throw in average Social Security, and your total monthly income lands around $2,100. That's what you've got for rent, food, prescriptions, car, and every unexpected thing life throws at you. I did that math one afternoon and genuinely had to put my phone down for a minute. That's not a retirement. That's surviving. Here's what makes it worse. The generation retiring right now actually had structural advantages that most of us don't. Pensions were still a thing. Housing was affordable relative to what people earned. You could stay at the same company for 30 years and they'd take care of you. Those days are gone. My generation and younger are dealing with 401ks that put all the risk on us, housing markets that have completely disconnected from wages, and healthcare costs that keep climbing every single year. The people retiring today with $90,000 had tailwinds. We're facing headwinds. That's not an excuse. It's context. And it means the behaviors that got our parents through retirement barely intact won't cut it for us. So, where does it actually go wrong? I've thought about this a lot, partly because I made some of these mistakes myself in my 30s. The biggest one is just not starting. I know that sounds obvious, but the math is genuinely brutal on this. A 25-year-old putting away $300 a month ends up with more than a 45-year-old putting away $600 a month. Half the contribution, twice the result, just because of timing. I had a period in my early 30s where I told myself I'd get serious about investing once things settled down a bit. Things didn't settle down. They never do. Those years cost me more than I want to calculate. The second place it breaks down is the slow lifestyle creep of your 30s and early 40s. I lived this. Income goes up, but somehow expenses go up faster. The retirement contribution gets paused during a tight month, and that temporary pause turns into years before you even notice. The third killer is cashing out when you change jobs. About 40% of people pull their retirement balance when they leave a position. I get it. The cash feels real, and the future feels abstract. But a 30-year-old pulling out $15,000 isn't losing $15,000. After penalties and taxes, they may be walking away with $10,000 cash while giving up what that money would have become over 35 years of compounding. We're talking potentially $250,000 gone for a short-term decision that felt reasonable on a Tuesday afternoon. The fourth problem is assuming you'll catch up eventually. I used to think this way. The math says otherwise. To hit $500,000 by 65, Someone starting at 25 needs about $285 a month at decent market returns. Someone starting at 45 needs over $1,200 a month for the exact same result. You can't just flip a switch in your mid-40s and make up for lost time. Not when your mortgage, your kids, and your life are all pulling in the opposite direction simultaneously. And the fifth thing, which almost nobody talks about, is what people actually do with the money they do manage to save. Leaving contributions sitting in a default money market fund earning 2% instead of a basic diversified index fund earning closer to 8%. That single difference over 35 years creates a gap of over $500,000. Same contributions, same timeline, one decision about where the money sits. Now here's what I actually find interesting. The people who retire comfortably aren't making dramatically more money than everyone else. I know guys earning $55,000 their whole careers who are genuinely set for retirement. The difference comes down to a few specific behaviors. The first is automation. They set up automatic contributions early, before they built expensive habits around their full paycheck. And they never touched that setup. The money moved before they saw it. They built their spending life around what was left. The people ending up with $90,000 did the opposite. They planned to save whatever was left after spending. There's never anything left after spending. That's just how it works. The second behavior is savings rate. Comfortable retirees consistently hit 15 to 20% throughout their careers. The $90,000 crowd averaged around 5%. That gap, played out over 3 decades, is the difference between struggling and having options. Same income, different priority. The third behavior is staying put during market crashes. This is the one that separates people more than almost anything else. The investors who held through 2008, held through early 2020, held through every scary headline, they captured the recovery. The ones who sold locked in permanent losses and missed the rebound entirely. Let me make all of this concrete with someone I'll call Dave. Retired at 66, $97,000 saved, Social Security coming in at $1,850 a month, wife passed away a few years back. His rent runs $900. Medicare and supplemental coverage takes $280. By the time groceries, utilities, car insurance, and medications are accounted for, his income and his expenses are essentially the same number every month, zero margin. Last spring, his furnace needed replacing, $1,400. He put it on a credit card he's still paying off. He missed his granddaughter's graduation trip because he simply couldn't swing it. Dave isn't in poverty by any official measure, but he's one bad month away from real trouble, every single month for the rest of his life. And here's what keeps me up about Dave's story. An extra $150 a month invested from his early 30s onward would have given him 3 times the balance. The math on small, consistent behavior over long periods of time is almost unfair in how powerful it is. That's actually the core of everything I talk about on this channel. The gap between Dave's retirement and a genuinely comfortable one isn't a massive income difference. It's roughly $15 a day, invested consistently, over a long time. That's it. The daily choice that doesn't feel like a retirement decision is absolutely one. If you're in your 20s watching this, you have something more valuable than money right now, and it's called time. Use it aggressively. If you're in your late 30s or 40s and behind, which is most of us, the lever to pull is rate. Get uncomfortable with your savings percentage. If you're in your 50s with very little saved, the math gets harder, but it's not hopeless. $500 a month starting now still builds something real by 65, and every year you delay Social Security past full retirement age adds around 8% to your monthly benefit. That's a guaranteed return you can't get anywhere else. The one thing I want you to walk away with: the median retirement doesn't happen because of catastrophic decisions. It happens because of delayed ones. The "I'll get serious about this next year" that quietly becomes "I should have started 10 years ago. I almost let that happen to me." $90,000 is the price of default behavior over a lifetime. It doesn't have to be your number, but it'll stay your trajectory until you decide, not eventually today, to do something different. The math is patient. It works for you if you start, and against you every year you don't.